And was there a couple things that maybe you're like, oh man, looking back, I wish I would have said this, or I wish I would have got an opportunity to talk about that?
I don't know, man. It was 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah,
like,
we
got it in. You know what I'm saying? You know, I think the biggest thing is the terminology that we use. A lot of times people's like, nah, that's not what it is. Like, and we knew that if we was going to talk something that was different than, or speak on something different, then the language kind of had to be a little bit different. And that was one of the things that Ricky helped us out with a lot, because me and Gilly, you know, Gilly had the concepts, and then I kind of became the horsepower behind the operation. And then, you know, Ricky comes in, and his way of talking and his experience in other programs and things like that. And then being a professional athlete, just, you know, he had a lingo that, you know, when you're the quarterback of an NFL team or quarterback of a major university and you walk in there, everybody's going to learn different. So when you're trying to coach up your guys in front of you and stuff like that, if you have one way of communicating, it's going to be a problem. And Ricky's real good at articulating the system. So, you know, he does well with it. But that was one of the things. Just the language, I think, caught a lot of people off guard.
I identify a lot with coaches. I think you guys are amazing coaches. That's why when you came here, you had such an impact on me. I was like, and when you left, I was like, there's something special about this program. I don't know how to put it into words, but something about the way these guys are showing me stuff, the way you're telling me to stand, the way that you're telling me to walk, the way that you're mentioning, you know, how to run and kind of flicking the foot away, going kind of heel out. I'm like, I was so confused. I'm like, how come I almost felt foolish in a way? Like, I've been coaching people. I've been around a long time. I haven't really heard anybody speak this way before. And then you and I were talking one day, I think on the phone or just back and forth with some voice messages. And I was like, my hips naturally want to go the other way when I push the sled. And you're like, that's because he got it backwards.
Yeah,
and I was like,
reverse. Yeah.
I was like, son of a bitch.
What do you mean though?
So my when I would take a step with the sled, my big toe would kind of hit first, and I would like put a cigarette out as if I was taking my heel from outside to inward with every step. And I do that if I sprint too. And probably a good reason why I blow out my hamstring if I sprint, if I try to go in like a full sprint. Well, now I've been really working a lot on turning the heel outward more as I kind of bring that hip back, and it's been feeling amazing. I still haven't gotten myself quite to the point where I want to ballistically like just fucking rage and go into stuff, but part of the reason why I'm covering so much of this stuff and so many variations of the different movements and even some of the different principles I'm adopting is to one day to be able to show that. Like one day people are going to look at my Instagram and go, what the fuck's gotten into this guy?
Yeah. So what you're seeing or what you're trying to describe is that the human body is a pivot point energy system, okay? It has a design pattern that's made to corner around a center, just like you would see in nature everywhere else. So you would see like, you know, a sunflower or something has like this spiraling, a pine cone or whatever as it's developing. So when you know, and not getting into the deep part of the mathematical side with the Fibonacci sequence and Gruden ratio and all of the things like that, what happens is there's an eye in the hurricane, right? And all of that, everything that's happening outside, that energy is moving around it, which creates a centrifugal force that allows it to travel through space when it's at ground contact. So a tornado, it starts at the top, right? And it's just swirling, swirling, swirling. When it makes contact with the ground, it starts to move and becomes destructive, right? So there's a center and there's a pivot point that everything moves through. Your foot, so if you back it up and you look at a baby in the crawl pattern, that pivot point is the knee whenever we start to crawl, okay? When the baby, as it starts to stand up, it starts to take away its support, right? It'll go to the wall and then it goes from the crawl pattern and it's trying to build its balance and all of that stuff, but it's still a pivot point. The problem in the training industry is that we've treated the body as like a system of pistons where we drive force into the ground. Now, we talked about it the other day, right? Like the triple extension is fake thing. And the reason why that I put that is a better way to have said it, but you can't really fit it onto the IG caption real good, is that it's incomplete, right? Does the body go into extension? Yes, it does. But the foot needs to come off the ground one way. It doesn't need to necessarily come, it don't have a choice. It has a choice, but one's healthy and one's not healthy. So what you was doing was you was pivoting off your big toe instead of pivoting off the third, fourth, and fifth. Your eye or your hurricane or the way you was cornering the hip was in reverse. You was going the wrong way. So you get the hip problems, you know, and you had the hamstring and stuff like that. So we noticed that. So what GOATA was observation-based technology where we went and we looked at front and back. The guy that pulls his hamstring all the time releases his heel to the inside.
Power Project family, how's it going? Hope you're enjoying the episode. And this episode is brought to you by Merrick Health, the premium telehealth clinic from Derek from More Plates, More Dates. Now, if you've been wanting to get your blood work done or if you wanted to get your blood work analyzed by a physician, Merrick has your back on that. And Andrew, can you tell them how to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys know exactly what labs you want to get, you guys can load them all up into your cart and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject10 to save 10% off all labs. But if you're like me and you're not sure exactly where to start, you guys can get the Power Project panel. You guys can head over to merrickhealth.com/powerproject and you guys will see a whole panel of like over 26 different labs, everything from head to toe that you're going to need to know what's going on under the hood. And again, to get in on that, head over to merrickhealth.com/powerproject and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save $101 off of that entire panel. Links to them and all the information down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
The guy that is healthy releases his heel to the outside. Now, can you go find Michael Jordan releasing his heel to the inside? Absolutely. But there's a consistency in his pattern that releases to the outside. And that's where people kind of, I think there's some confusion with what we're saying. Track and field's got a lot of soft tissue injuries, but when you break down, like Usain Bolt tearing his left hamstring, you could see, we talked about it yesterday, and see where that left foot starts to duck out even more because everybody sprints the track. All sprinters train the 400 meters, all of them, for endurance purposes and all. But when you hit that curve, that foot's doing something different than what the right one's doing. So he has the right hammy. Carmelita Jeter had the left quad that she tore a bunch of times. But when you would watch him run straight, one's turned out more than the other, and they were pivoting off the inside of the foot instead of off the third, fourth, and fifth. So identifying what was the safe side as opposed to, and that's why I said you go in reverse, because if it's supposed to go out, then reverse would be in, right?
I have a question for you about that, because when I was thinking about it, first question, the part A to that would be, what would be the solutions to that? Because as you were mentioning, track athletes, they are running one way. They're turning these curves year after year, race after race, practice after practice. And I was like, wait, why don't they ever run the other way of the track? But maybe that'd be too time consuming. So what would be the way to stop these types of injuries from happening? Because part of it is going the same way, turning the same corners, and overdeveloping one side of their gait over years of time.
You got to do it the other way.
You have to do it the other way? Do track coaches employ that? Do you know if that's a common practice?
We the ones that we have talked to have, like the ones that are like, how can we get better and not, I know how to do this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's really simple. Like, I don't coach no track teams. So when I talk to a track coach or something like that, and we talk about triple extension exercises, the track, it's like this, the whole system of track and field was kind of like the dynamic was the same everywhere. So if you're doing triple extension, you release it to the inside, you're running the curve, so you create more of a duck foot thing. So you're feeding it from two different ways. And if that's the stimulus that they're getting, but then the body breaks down on, and now they're all right side injuries, don't get me wrong, but fixing it would be to go the other direction.
Yeah.
Take the time out. If you're dealing with a high level athlete and you saying I don't have time for that, then you shouldn't be dealing with a high level athlete.
Makes a lot of sense.
One of the things that's interesting about a lot of the stuff in the weight room, and this is where I think you guys probably receive the most criticism, is I guess there's a message out there, I don't know if you said it directly or if it's just proposed with GOATA, that you guys don't really lift weights in the traditional sense. Like there's not really weight, there's not really like Olympic lifting, and there's not really power lifting. But what I want people to envision and want people to think about is how often do you see somebody do an Olympic lift, and when they're in the transition of the Olympic lift, when they are doing like a power clean, when they take the weight up and their feet leave the ground, I'd like for people to envision how the person's feet land. And almost all the time, not all the time, because there are athletes that can do it with their feet straight. But that's when you see like an Olympic level person like Dmitry Klokov or somebody like that. Almost always the feet are kind of flopping outward every single time. And these positions are getting trained very often. And I think my understanding of strength training in the past would be, oh, you know what? Like that's probably not that bad of an idea to train that range of motion, because you do get in compromising positions in sports as well. And these are minimal loads because of the type of exercise that the person's doing. So like no harm, no foul. But you guys have, it seemed like you guys have brought attention to a lot of things that I wasn't previously aware of, and maybe a lot of the other strength and conditioning community hasn't been aware of.
Yeah, I mean, and again, when you go back to the origin of a lot of things, GOATA, from a movement standpoint, like I said, is a system, right? Ricky had a great podcast the other day where he talked about strength training is more isolation, right? Now, there's always intention, like we want to get stronger, we want to get more explosive and things like that. But how are we doing those things? What's happened mechanically? What's happened biomechanically? And I always revert back to every system of the body. We talked about it earlier. Every system of the body is one way. Cardiovascular has a way that it works. Digestive. Every system has its one way. And then, depending upon who you talk to, some people will go, it would make sense if we moved one way because we all basically anatomically the same, other than like some femoral lengths and things like that. But if the ball and sockets and the hinges and everything's decompressed, then the movement pattern should be able to be consistent across the board too. But like you just said, some of the movement gets, for lack of better words, bastardized in the weight room. And then when you go and you take those movement patterns and you apply it to a sport where it's apex predator, and I'm an NFL linebacker and I'm 6'5", 255 pounds, and I got a dude coming through the hole that's 215. If my hips and all are not working the proper way and things like that, that strength goes out the window because it becomes a leverage game. It becomes, your health and all of that stuff. Like just the way you move could cause a lot of injuries, like a hamstring pull or something like that. So it's controlled in the weight room, but on the field, the bullets are flying and everything's going everywhere. So if that movement pattern that you've been working in the weight room is not conducive to the football field, then you're going to see the injury happen.
Hey guys, if you like this clip, go ahead and comment down below and let us know what you liked about it. All right. Share this with a friend. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And also, we are on Reddit and Discord. All that's down below. All our sponsors and everyone that supports us down below there too, so you can get whatever you like from us. All right. Peace.